Alright everybody, this is G-Funk and I'm back. Feeling a little sick right now. I got a little cold that I'm fighting off. But I'm going to go ahead and get this prediction in anyway because, hell, the fight's coming up tomorrow. But I'm going to do some predictions here on the PBC card that's coming on NBC this weekend. Real excited to see these fights. Especially coming back to network television. You know, I always thought that it would be a good idea for boxing to get back on network television because, you know, it'll widen the audience and, you know, things like that. And this is a good start, man. We got, you know, Broner versus John Molina Jr., Keith Thurman versus Robert Guerrero. You know, these are some, you know, not the biggest names of the sport, obviously, but, you know, these are big names that a lot of people are familiar with. I mean, you have Adrien Broner, who was, you know, on his way to, you know, getting up there as far as, you know, fame goes in the sport of boxing, popularity, things like that. He's always on the internet making crazy videos and stuff like that. We all know Robert Guerrero's a guy who fought Floyd Mayweather on pay-per-view a couple years ago. So, you know, there's some names on here that people are familiar with. Keith Thurman's a guy who's, you know, I don't think he's as popular as Broner or Guerrero, but to the hardcores like myself and all the other hardcores in the YTBC, you know, Keith Thurman is a guy who we've all sort of had our eyes on to see if he's the real deal or not. And, you know, we're going to find out next, or not next Saturday, but this Saturday coming up. So, I'm going to go ahead and break some of these fights down. Talk about the Abbott and Mares fight first. Mares is in the ring again with another soft touch. This is 3 in a row since he got knocked out by Johnny Gonzalez. Some dude named Arturo Reyes. You know, I don't see him having much trouble with this guy. I think Mares probably gets this guy out of there. You know, I don't know. Honestly, I haven't really taken the time to really study it. I mean, you know, this is again another soft touch. I think he should look impressive, and he should try to look impressive, and he should definitely try to get his ass back in there with Johnny Gonzalez and avenge that loss. If not, maybe he could fight, I don't know, if Leo Santa Cruz decides to move up, he could fight Santa Cruz. I mean, there's some names at featherweight right now. I mean, there's Walters, there's Donaire, there's some Pigway, I think his name is, or something like that. The dude who fought Donaire to, it was like a no contest or something like that. Or I don't remember. The fight sucked, whenever it was, and whoever his name is. But, you know, there's some names there that he could fight other than these guys that he's been in the ring with, you know, the past 3 bouts. So, you know, I would like to see him step it up after this fight. So I'm gonna take Abbott and Mares by knockout, man. I think he's gonna knock this dude out. So now let's go on to Broner. Again, another, for me, I'm gonna just come out and say it, alright? I don't like Adrien Broner, okay? I'm sorry, guys. I mean, it has nothing to do with what he does in the ring. It's everything he does outside of the ring. It just irritates me. I mean, for me, he just tries too hard. You know, he tries just a little bit too hard to be something that he's not. He tries to, you know, be funny and crack jokes and, you know, talk crap about fighters. And it just, to me, it's not funny. And, you know, sometimes it's a little uncomfortable, you know, when he jokes and, like, no one laughs at his damn jokes but himself, you know? I don't know, man. Just a lot of things he does rubs me the wrong way outside of the ring. You know, he's trying very hard to be like Floyd Mayweather. Trying to, you know, build up not only a fan base, but a fan base of hate. Just like Floyd Mayweather, you know, and that's the thing I don't understand about a lot of these guys on the internet who support Broner. Now, if you support Broner, like, I don't care, that's fine. I'm just telling you from my perspective, I don't like him. I mean, as a fighter, he's got some talent, you know, don't get me wrong, but I just think, like I said, he just forces the issue too much, trying to be something that he's not. And the thing that really bothers me is his fans. They get mad at people because they don't, he gets on people's nerves, but, isn't that what he's trying to do intentionally? Just like Floyd Mayweather when he was first coming up. Floyd wasn't the most entertaining fighter to watch. So what he did was he made himself the villain, the bad guy, to where people hated him and wanted to see him lose, and that's why they watched him fight. Broner was trying to do the same thing. But for me, I don't think he had to do that because I think his style is already a little bit more entertaining than Floyd Mayweather's. He's not as good defensively. He's not as smart, obviously. He's fast. He's got good power. He sits down on his punches more than Floyd does. But like I said, he gets hit a lot, and he doesn't really move his feet. And I think moving up in weight really hurt him. Obviously, against Marcos Maidana, we saw what happened there when he got into the ring with a real full-fledged welterweight. And he got his ass kicked, And moving back down to 140, I think, was a better move for him. Although I still don't see the kind of power that he had when he was at lightweight. But he did knock down Emmanuel Taylor in his last fight. And he did, put good hands on Carlos Molina. But again, those are, not top-level opponents. The guy, Carlos Molina, that he fought was really not that good. Emmanuel Taylor is a good, solid win, though. And that fight was close. It wasn't he didn't run away with that fight. It was a good fight, very competitive, but he got the win. Now he's going in there with John Molina Jr. And, for me, I think this is kind of like the Abner Mares fight. I think it's not really like a soft touch like Mares, but I do think that he's going to win this fight. I think he's going to win it easy. John Molina is a guy who has a lot of heart. He's very tough. And you can't rule those things out when it comes to boxing. Sometimes guys can overcome these things when they're in the ring with someone who has obviously a little more skill and is a little more physically gifted than them. Sometimes that heart and that that will, that determination can overcome that. I just think that at this point in John Molina's career, he's been in some wars. He's taken a lot of good punches from a lot of heavy hitters. Like Lucas Matisse in his last fight. That was a brutal fight, and he lost, but he did drop Matisse a couple of times, but he did take a pretty sound beating in that fight, in my opinion. And I just don't I don't know how much he has left in the tank. If he does have more than enough, this fight could get interesting. I just think that Broner is a guy who they're still trying to milk. They're trying to get as much out of him as they can, which is why they put him on this card. And I don't think that Al Heyman would put him in harm's way on network television. For him to get beat up or to lose or anything like that. I think that this is really a stepping stone bout in a way for him. And I expect Broner to win this fight. I don't know if it'll be by knockout, but I do expect him to win it. And we'll see what he does after this fight. There's some good fights for him at 140. If he decides to stay there, if he wants to go back to 147, who knows? I keep hearing interviews all week long I've been watching. They've been crying about Marcos Maidana not wanting to get in there and fight. They don't want the rematch, blah, 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 It's pretty simple for me, all right? This is the way G-Funk looks at rematches and things like that, Now, in my opinion, this is only my opinion, okay? In my opinion, I don't think that Adrien Broner deserves a rematch. And I'm going to explain why I feel that way. The reason why I feel that way is because for me, Maidana really beat his ass. Like, the fight wasn't close, in my opinion. And for me, when you lose a fight like that, I don't see how you can get a rematch. I just don't. in the here's the way I look at it. Right now, if we were playing a game, I was playing a game against Adrien Broner in basketball or whatever, right? We were playing a game of 21, and we play, and I beat him 21-2. You know, ain't no running it back. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't be like, oh yeah, let's run that back. You only beat me by 19 points in a game to 21. No, you're like, no, man, I'm ready to fight somebody else now. I'm ready to play somebody else. Like, I beat you, I annihilated you. Like, no, I'm not. No, we ain't gonna play it again. Now, if the fight was close and competitive, then I'd be like, yeah, I'd like to see that rematch again. It was a close fight, but for me, the fight wasn't close. Now, some of you might think it was closer than I think it was, but I don't know. I didn't see it that way. I just didn't. Who knows? Eventually, they might, have a rematch, but for me, that's the way I feel about it. And I don't think he beats Marcos Maidana again. I mean, ever, I don't think that he's a welterweight, man. And I seen an interview with Al Bernstein where he was talking about it. He's like, Broner's not a welterweight, and I agree. He did not bring that power with him, and I just don't think he could hang with any of those natural 147 guys. I just don't see it. So, if you Broner fans want to see him get back in there and get beat again, hey, more power to you. I personally don't agree with a rematch, but hey, this is boxing, and we all know that sometimes business it makes more sense than sense itself. You know what I'm saying? So that's my prediction on that fight. I'm going to take Broner to win over John Molina Jr. Now we'll go to the main event: Thurman versus Guerrero. Very good matchup here. I like this. A couple of years ago, I was on the internet and I was just, looking around at things, and I seen on BoxRec that Thurman and Guerrero was a fight that looked like it was supposed to be scheduled to happen a couple of years ago. And I made a video and I said, hey, Keith Thurman, he's getting ready to fight Robert Guerrero. Should be a good fight. Next thing you know, the fight fell apart and never happened. But now it's official. And it's going to happen, man. And I think it's a good fight for Keith Thurman and for Robert Guerrero. It's a good fight for both of these guys because Thurman is a guy who the jury is still out on him. Because, we haven't seen him in there with any top-notch competition yet. And this is a good step up for him, a very good step up. And for Robert Guerrero is a guy who, had his crack at the best of the best in Floyd Mayweather. And, he came up short, didn't win the fight. So a win over a young, up-and-coming guy like Keith Thurman could put him right back in line for, some big fights at 147. So they both got a lot on the line in this fight. What I see is, this is a tough fight because, I do like Keith Thurman. I think that he's very entertaining. He could be a big star because he does bring power. He does knock a lot of guys out. We all know that a lot of fans, especially the casual fans, they love the knockout. And, he doesn't mind going in there and taking punches to land his punches. We saw that with Soto Caras. We saw that with Diego Chavez. They both rung his bell a little bit, but he, at the end of the day, he came out on top. Because I think he's just... he's a little more skillful than people think. Sometimes people let that power go to their head, but I think that he's going about it the smart way, and he's using his legs a little bit more, using more boxing. We saw that in his last fight. There's a lot of people who talked about how it was a boring fight, a dull fight, but I think it's good to see young guys like Keith Thurman get in there and win a fight that way, because you can't knock everybody out. I mean, you just can't. You're going to eventually get in the ring with someone who can take your shots, and then you got to have something else to fall back on after that. And I didn't mind the performance. Thought he dominated the fight and he won. Thurman is a very good young fighter. And this fight right here, if he wins, and wins impressively, could put him in line for some big shots too at welterweight. As for Robert Guerrero, ah, man, this is tough, man, because Robert Guerrero is a guy who is, you know, he's from Northern California, which is where I'm from. You know, his hometown of Gilroy is not far from where I live. And, you know, I always like to support, you know, my local guys, the guys that are around the area that I'm from. And, you know, my heart is going to be with Robert Guerrero in almost every fight that he's in, you know. And, you know, I'm not trying to double predict or anything here, but, you know, I'm going to take Keith Thurman to win. My heart is with Robert Guerrero, though. And I think that really the problem with Robert Guerrero, ever since he moved up to welterweight, in a way, is kind of like Adrien Broner. I don't think he brought his power with him that he had when he was at lightweight. I don't think he brought his legs with him either. You know, at lightweight, he was a guy who could actually box a little bit and stay on the back foot. No, I'm not saying he was like Muhammad Ali or anything like that, but he, you know, he wasn't as flat-footed as he is now. And he wasn't in the kind of wars that he's been in since he's been at welterweight. I mean, he had a brutal fight with Andre Berto. They both were very swollen at the end of the fight. He had a war with that dude Kamagan or something like that in his last fight. He also had a pretty good fight with Adrien. You know, it was a lot of back and forth action in that fight. And then we know what happened with Floyd Mayweather. You know, he lost that fight pretty convincingly. But for me, he's just not the same Robert the Ghost Guerrero that he was at the lighter weight classes. No, I seen an interview with him, and I seen him do some shadow boxing and things like that. And he looks, to me, to be a little bit more quick with his shots. From when I seen him shadow boxing, he looked to be moving around the ring a little bit more. I know he had talked about this CrossFit thing. You know, I didn't really see the benefits of it in his last fight. You know, we'll see if we see any of that here in this fight against Keith Thurman. But I think that if he can find a way to go back to using his jab and, you know, moving a little bit instead of coming forward and trying to be so flat-footed and bang it out with everybody, I think he can give Thurman some trouble. I just think that Thurman, I just think he's just a little bit better overall, and that's why I'm going to take him to win. But like I said, I would like to see Robert Guerrero win the fight. I'll be rooting for him, you know. Even though I'm not a fan of his, but I just like to see, like I said, I like to see the guys that are from my area do well. So I'll be rooting for him. My heart will be with him, but I just don't think he's going to win the fight. But hopefully he can turn the clock back and use some of the old Robert Guerrero and you know, bring some of those things and you know, play chess with Thurman a little bit, because I do feel like if he does hurt Thurman or catch him with something big, you know, Thurman could possibly decide to say, you know what, maybe I should just box this guy, you know, kind of like he did with Diego Chavez. You know, when Chavez caught him with some shit, you know, he decided to not stand in the pocket and move, and you know, that helped him in the long run in that fight. So Robert Guerrero, I think that he should definitely stop trying to be you know, this brawler and try to stick to some boxing here. I mean, I would like to see that. But anyway, those are my predictions. I'm going to take Mares, I'm going to take Broner, and I'm taking Keith Thurman this Saturday night on NBC. Hopefully everybody's watching, and hopefully all these fights turn out to be good. But those are my predictions, guys. I'm going to go ahead and cut this video off. I know it's kind of long, but hey, I got 3 fights in, so and I'm going to cut it off before I start coughing and sneezing all over this video. So this is G-Funk. I'm out.